very much, Ms. Bonamici.
Thank you to the chair and ranking member, and thank you to the witnesses for your expertise. I'm glad to see so many people here today interested in this topic. I know the title of this hearing is Losing Ground, U.S. Competitiveness in Critical Technologies. I want to start on a positive note. We do have some of the best scientists and researchers, programmers, engineers in the world. We've seen tremendous progress in the development and deployment of high-performance computing. I want to follow up on Mr. Weber's discussion in Northwest Oregon, where I'm honored to represent. Intel recently unveiled its Horse Ridge chip processor to accelerate the testing and potential of quantum computing. These kinds of technological advancements can be used for energy exploration, predicting climate and weather, predictive and preventive medicine, emergency response, and more. Last Congress, we passed the National Quantum Initiative Act to strengthen research and development into quantum computing and maintain U.S. leadership. The bill established a National Quantum Initiative Advisory Committee to advise the work on this committee. These investments are needed to meet increasing demands and emerging technological changes, but as the witnesses demonstrated in their testimony today, we still have more work to do, especially to keep pace with our international competitors. Dr. Schmidt, in your testimony, you noted that China has almost twice as many supercomputers as the United States. You suggested there's need to recalibrate areas of competition and cooperation. So what federal policies would be needed, but also are there additional policy provisions that this committee should consider now that the National Quantum Initiative Act has been passed and enacted?
So first place, the National Quantum Initiative is a fantastic piece of work on your part and is very, very helpful. It's going to need more. It's going to need more money, more focus, and so forth as it develops, but these things develop at a certain level. I think in general, I would simply refer to the testimony of all three of us that as a policy level, it's more resources, more flexibility, more focus on the basic research side, consistent with national security, understanding that urgency is important. I think my personal view is that the formula works really well, and I just want it to happen faster. And as the students come out and the faculty members come out and the ideas come out, the brilliance of the American innovation model in terms of creating companies will be competitive. And if I can just hammer on the Chinese thing, the Chinese have a system called 996. They work from 9 in the morning to 9 at night, 6 days a week, right? That's what we're dealing with.
Right.
We need to be on that footing.
Appreciate that. Dr. Suzanne, your testimony highlighted the need for a federal strategy for basic research investments that considers national needs and competitive opportunities and lays the groundwork for future discoveries. So the committee is also well aware that federal support for science research and development has remained relatively flat since 2000. So what level of federal investment would be needed in our research facilities and infrastructure? And beyond increasing federal investments, what should our federal strategy on basic research include?
It's tricky saying what an exact level would be, and certainly one of the congresspeople cited the range that we've gone to from back in the 1960s between 1.6 and 1.9% of the GDP was being spent on research and development, and now it's more like 0.6 or 0.7 in terms of the federal R&D spending. The NSB does not have a position on a specific dollar amount for R&D spending. What we can say is we can also look and say that the total R&D spending in the country is at a historic high of 2.8% because the business sector has stepped up and is investing a lot more in R&D. At the same time, we need to realize that when the business sector does that, there's a different kind of R&D in general that's being supported than what the federal government can do.
Right, and I just want to call out that what seems to be a bipartisan agreement that we need more funding, which is helpful.
Right.
I want to try to squeeze in one more question here, a comment. I want to align myself with the comments of my colleagues who talked about the importance of immigration reform, and I know that looking at the workforce in Northwest Oregon, but I also want to talk about the importance of growing our own talent here. And Dr. Schmidt, you talked about talent development, including K-12, Dr. Abdallah, you had that wonderful Martin Luther King Jr. quote about the purpose of education to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. That's really important. Dr. Suzanne, you had a comment as well about creativity, problem solving. I serve on the Education and Labor Committee, and I know and have worked for and advocated for well-rounded education, K-12. Dr. Abdallah, you said civics and humanities. I'm the founder and co-chair of the STEAM caucus to integrate the arts. Arts education helps boost creativity. It helps people develop innovative, creative, problem-solving minds. And we found that students who participate in the arts are more likely to participate in things like math and science fairs, for example. So that's just my call out to, as we talk about these issues and developing our own talent here, the arts are not a frill. They actually help people to learn, the brain researchers there to learn creatively and critically. So, and other countries are beginning to be ahead of us in that. I just wanted to make that point. I'm out of time, but we can follow up at another time. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you.